Well, with so much to get to when it comes to markets, between the Fed, economic data, earnings, and yes, two big IPOs here at the stock exchange today, I do want to bring in Michael Reinking, senior market strategist, on the floor. Michael, it's great to have you, especially on a busy day.
Yeah, Kristen, thanks for having me. Yeah, there's a lot of buzz down there on the trading floor, something we haven't seen kind of in this, in this large in a while.
Yeah, and our viewers, certainly they can see the Figma signage behind us. We are awaiting the Figma opening bell. What is the Figma swag that you're rocking today?
Yeah, I've got a wonderful jacket on here with a pretty cool patch on the back, which well the viewers can't see, but it's a very nice jacket, and we've got a ton of people kind of here at the exchange. They're making their way onto the floor. And it should be kind of a pretty loud opening bell at 9:30.
So the rest of the traders, they are going to be in the jackets, right? Because I think in protocol, a trading jacket on the floor was part of the uniform at one point, right?
Yep, absolutely. So I think we're going to have kind of that entire trading floor community should be in jackets this morning, and it'll be a fun morning.
Yeah, a fun morning indeed. I do want to talk about what is taking stocks higher pre-market. We're just about 30 minutes from the open. Technology results, Michael. What are your takeaways there?
Yeah, I mean the tech results last night were very, very strong from Microsoft and Meta, continuing to kind of just show how much AI-driven demand there is. They continue to kind of pump money into CapEx. Right, but the results themselves, have been very, very solid. Meta's been one of the biggest beneficiaries, kind of from the usage of kind of that AI technology in their ad spending businesses, right? And the numbers are super strong. You have both stocks that are up about 10% in the pre-market. So I mean, these are very large companies. If you actually look at, S&P futures are up about 1%. Pretty much that entire move comes from those two companies, right? And if you add in kind of the offshoots that it kind of bleeds into, and some of the semiconductors, Amazon, with their cloud business, right? Futures would actually be a little bit lower if you kind of took out all of that impact.
So how does this set up the reports that we'll get, and of course the subsequent earnings calls from Amazon and Apple tonight?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So Apple's been kind of its own animal, kind of recently. In terms of Amazon, right, that definitely raises the bar, right? So we had strong numbers from Alphabet last week. Meta's numbers were, kind of even stronger than that. So with their cloud business, that raises the bar. You also have to keep in mind with Amazon, right, they are much more consumer-facing than, kind of those other companies, right? So we could potentially see a little bit of weakness on the consumer side of things. In terms of Apple, right, the market's really looking to hear more about their AI strategy, right? That's been kind of the issue that they've been dealing with, right? And trying to get kind of some kind of an upgrade cycle, kind of on their phones. So that stock's kind of been trading on its own own island recently.
The good news is, Michael, you are joining us here at the top of the show and right after the market opens. So we're going to have a lot of time to get through all of the market headlines. It is a very busy week indeed. I do want to turn to Figma. Again, our viewers can see the signage happening behind us. We are awaiting that opening bell. Company valued at more than $19 billion, priced above the range in what was an upwardly revised range over time. Plus Shoulder Innovations. What does this tell us about the market appetite?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've clearly seen that there is appetite for new IPOs, new paper, right? I mean, we've been seeing, kind of with buybacks, right? You've just been seeing kind of the stock of stock, so to speak, right? So the supply of stock shrinking over the years, right? And we're now starting to see some of those innovative, exciting companies coming to market after kind of a long period of kind of slower IPO activity in the last 2 or 3 years. Those IPOs have been pricing well in the primary market and then trading well in the secondary market, right? So that is going to continue to keep the momentum.
Yeah, and we know when the market opens at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, these new stocks, right, don't open automatically. So walk our viewers through what that process is, what is going to be transpiring on the floor where traders are hard at work to make sure that the open does go smoothly.
Yeah, so that's going to take some time, right? I would think we're probably kind of midday before we see some of the, before we see Figma opening, right? And they're really trying to find the right clearing price, right? So, the word on the street is that Figma was 40 times oversubscribed, right? So there's going to be quite a bit of demand on the back end. You're going to try to find that right clearing price. The DMMs are going to be looking, to pair off somewhere close to kind of 10% of kind of what's in the float at that point, and make sure that the opening price is right and that the stock kind of trades well on the back end.
So Figma, Shoulder Innovations, as well, a med tech company. And in
Yes.
fact, when it comes to healthcare, is there a way that our viewers should be looking at that sort of firm?
Healthcare has had a tougher time, kind of over the last couple of years, in terms of the market. It's been one of the underperforming areas. Now that, can actually play out positively for the sector, kind of as we move forward, right? Because, we've had such a big move within the equity markets that investors are looking for areas, right, where they can put new capital to work that haven't kind of already had that big move. So you could start to see the healthcare sector performing a little bit better.
Interesting. So Michael, of course, you're going to join us after the market opens. We still need to talk about the Fed decision, more in depth, trade, and of course economic data. Any other nuggets in about 30 seconds our viewers should know?
This morning we got the PCE data, which
Yes.
came in a little bit hot. Kind of showing similar, very similar to what we saw in CPI, with some goods inflation, which kind of plays into the kind of the Fed's decision that we had yesterday, which we can talk more about kind of later.
Okay, good. Plus the jobs report tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, good to have Michael Reinking here in studio. He's a senior market strategist for the stock exchange in what is a very busy day and busy week on Wall Street.